Oh jeez.
Oh my. Give me 2 seconds. Yeah, heals.
Trying to
Nice.
desperately.
And more heals.
Oh,
This
you're
is
playing
great.
Ray, come on.
More
Oh,
heals.
I'm dead.
More
This is,
heals.
I'm not gonna give you the penta. F you, I don't want to be in the video anymore.
Hey, what's going on everybody? Today we're talking about the one and only Saati. This is going to be more of just my first thoughts on the champion. I do have a video coming out soon which will be an in-depth guide, look at her kits, and various other topics. It will be similar to the Yagra video I made not too long ago. But for now, let's discuss this new DPS champion. A lot of people seem to have this idea that she needs a buff or that she's a weak champion in general, but I will respectfully, of course, disagree. And hopefully by the end of this video, I will have made a strong case for her in general. Well, first things first. Her main DPS is a 50 caliber pistol, absolutely stunning, gorgeous, 10 out of 10, sort of reminds me of the CSGO Desert Eagle, and I can't wait to see what kind of skins they make for this one. But how does the actual damage compare to other champions? Well, from all the games I was able to have on PTS, which were far and few apart, in which I suffered horribly with 200 ping, had people just leave, spring dodged, or straight up didn't have enough people. But still, from those games, I can tell you right away that her damage is absolutely fine. She can duel almost anybody at medium range, has a pretty high rate of fire, and a pretty nifty passive that speeds you up or gives more firing rate when lower on energy or higher. Of course, she's better at medium range or even point blank. I found that she's a lot like Andro or Buck, or well, even Lex. At least in that regard. Speaking of her energy, she has these little pips, as they call it. It's a pretty similar system, and they've done one like this before on Koga. While using your skills, you consume certain amounts of energy, and once you run out of this energy, you can no longer use your skills. Wait, why didn't... Right, the energy, I keep forgetting about that. So definitely one of the more difficult champions to play, well, at least in kit management, but if you have decent aim, I mean, you really shouldn't be in that much of a pickle. So the first ability we're going to talk about is the jumping escape one. You sort of just do a somersault and fly out of battle, while knocking people back or up depending on what playstyle you've chosen, and sort of reminding me of reverse bounce house Buck. This escape, as far as escapes go, is pretty good, and can save you from many flanks. It completely shuts down Buck, or any champion for that matter that doesn't have CC immunity. A very useful tool indeed. Unfortunately, we can't say that for all her tools, and that brings up the second one we're going to talk about is her coin. You toss out a coin and shoot it in midair to have it stand still. After that, it becomes a deployable which you can shoot multiple times to get an auto shot on all the champions around. And by auto, I mean it's actually another auto aim ability. I'm sure we've all wanted even more of that in Paladins. However, it is pretty weak, and for the majority of my playtime, I used it like maybe a couple of times. It can be useful if somebody's trying to hide from you on like 300 HP, but aside from that, it's really not great. For the majority of the time, I threw the coin in the faces of my teammates to demonstrate my wealth. I got mixed results. No. But now her Q. Oh, well, that's just another story. I like it personally because it looks funny. But yeah, it also gives you a bit of stealth and speeds up your champion, while also leaving a cardboard cutout for all the weebs around Paladins to now shoot at. And boy do they, not realizing that every time they shoot it, they get revealed for a few seconds. It is surprisingly more useful than I thought it would be, considering it only shoots straight and does next to no damage. This thing is actually a pretty cool escape, and in some cases can even be used as a wall. But of course, I'm sure you want to hear about the most interesting part of, well, any kit, that being the ultimate. And this is also where I've seen a lot of complaints. People keep saying that her ultimate is a bit weak or that it doesn't do enough damage. However, I just think they might be using it wrong. The ultimate itself is a lot like Genos' ultimate, but you're able to move while casting it and you fire off several shots. I've seen a lot of people use this to engage fights, but don't do that. It's supposed to be used to finish people off. I mean, even the voice lines when you use the ultimate say the exact same thing.
Leaving so soon?
Help me heal. Ah.
That's what it's for, not to try and duel somebody point blank. Although sadly, that seems to work as well.
I'm dead.
The projectiles have a huge hitbox, they charge fast, and can even be improved. All this considered, you're supposed to check who's low HP and finish them off. And once you get the hang of them, then they're pretty easy to predict. Alright, let's talk about her talents. As usual, one is stronger than all the rest and more viable. But that is a problem with Evil Mojo and not the champion itself. The default one is called Improvised. And as the name suggests, it's definitely improvised because nobody in their right mind would actually use this. The gist of it is the decoy becomes a landmine and explodes when people get near it. Really not that useful. I mean, it's funny, I guess, but for the most part it's just a worse Vivian booby trap talent, one that you have to risk your life to place down, and nothing stops the enemy team from avoiding your decoys because they checked your talent. The level 2 one is my favorite and the main one I run. It's called Window of Opportunity and reminds me of a reverse bounce house buck. You basically knock enemies straight up into the air and deal 20% more damage for 1.5 seconds. It's easy to hit them in the air, and once you get used to it, you'll just consistently do it. And the range for the knockup is pretty huge. Since you already want to be that close to the enemy, it just benefits you. And now for the third talent and my least favorite. At level 8, we have Heads or Tails. Your shots on the coin will now deal 200% more damage to shields for some reason, and they will reveal enemies for 1 second while also simultaneously healing you for 125 health. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I find this talent absolutely useless. I have no idea why they added that, and I genuinely believe it needs a change. Damage to shields is still bad because the coin itself sucks, and the heal you get is barely anything. You're better off just left-clicking the enemy. There's actually absolutely no reason to pick this talent, and that makes me kinda sad. Why, Evil Mojo? Why? Let's talk a little bit about her cards, and this is where her playstyles actually become quite different. Now, personally, you know me, I like my bounce house. That's why I run all the cards that genuinely benefit exactly that playstyle. Now, I'm sure they're probably going to tweak the numbers, but at the moment in PTS, this is what you can do.
When I... Oh my... Why would you do that? Goodbye, moon man.
How did he what?
You have
What
to
is
knock
that?
back on that?
Huh?
What? How did the ashes
So
fly
far.
up in the air?
That's my
Why
skill.
are you that hard?
I mean, yeah, you can already start to see why I like this talent. At this point, I feel like Elon Musk launching people straight up to the moon. It's hilarious to watch, it does extra damage, I mean, what's not to like? Another playstyle I messed around with was the ultimate one, which it was pretty fun, but I'd say on average it'd be pretty much useless. You toss out a couple coins, you shoot them, and you get your ultimate. So, on paper, you can spam ultimates constantly, right? That'd be awesome. Problem is, you're gonna get rushed in that period of time, and nobody's gonna let you shoot a coin in the air. But still, something I definitely enjoyed. It would most likely be fun and casual, at the very least. Or if none of those interest you, you can just become Speed. And yes, you heard me correctly, not faster, but you can become Speed. This one is actually surprisingly effective as well. It reminds me of a Speedy Sky, but do keep in mind that you actually have to get kills to, well, continue being speedy.
She's so fast!
Now, in what kinds of situations would you pick this champion? I'd say anything that's related to medium range fights. She's surprisingly good at holding those, and has enough DPS to rival most flanks. Not to mention, she even completely counters stuff like Buck Bounce House, and well, any other champion that is not CC immune while they engage you. And yes, you win most medium range fights, but the high range is where you see a problem. You see, the bane of your existence will be Kinessa, Strix, and anything of that nature. Medium range is your sweet spot, and you can really think of her as, well, I don't know, a female Androxus. One that apparently can't dash.
Well, this sucks.
I'm gonna get
Why
in,
did
Raven.
that?
So a little bit about the gun. The gun itself feels absolutely satisfying to fire. The sound design is mwah, chef's kiss. The voice actor is absolutely fantastic.
I am number one.
They did a great job, but once we look at the lore, well, yeah, as usual, the lore's pretty bad. And by bad, I mean there's none. If you consider this lore, then we gonna fight. In appearance, I guess she's a dark elf? We're in Skyrim now, boys!
Alright, hand over your value.
But all jokes aside, she's a solid DPS champion, and I guess people claim that she's weak because they've barely played her, and from what I can tell, she's perfectly balanced, which might actually be the problem. You see, since we rarely see good balance in this game, she seems weaker than most other champions, say Vora or anything else. Not even gonna talk about Fernando.
Haha! Shields up!
I think if you try to play her more as a flank champion, she will be just fine, instead of some range DPS. Her close range damage is pretty good, and the fire rate is amazing too. And well, for the buff situation, we don't need more buffs, we need more nerfs. I think we need to nerf what stands out and make the game balanced in that way. Buffing every champion will only cause time to kill to go down again, and the burst meta would rise again. I'd say Saati is a great example of a well-balanced champion, and I commend you on that, Evil Mojo. She could definitely use some changes to her kit, but overall, she's great. So my first rating for this champion will be 8 out of 10 picks.
hello.
That's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I do have a couple of things to say. If you'd like to see more of these type of videos, then let me know. You could even leave a like, maybe even subscribe. That would be pretty cool. I'd also like to shout out my patrons, Tobias Sander, Ash and T, and the rest of these lovely people you see on screen.
Yeah, get punked on Raven.
And thank you to everybody else who likes my videos, leaves feedback, likes, subscribes. I seriously appreciate all of you. I'd also like to mention that we're hosting a giveaway. It is the current crossover event pass for Paladins, and you will find a link to it in the description below. That's gonna be it for this one, and I hope to see you in the next video.
But me, I'm an idiot.
No. No.
Yeah, get out of here.